Okay, let me do this problem real quick so you guys can, get a little bit more practice before your test comes. So let's do this one real quick. Find all the roots of this polynomial, x to the fourth minus 15x cubed plus 70x squared minus 70x minus 156. That's going to be a big one, all right? Now, if you have something like x plus something, or x squared minus something, or something like that, you can do quadratic formula, or you can do things like that. But since that highest power is a 4, we got to think of a little something different here. If our highest power is a 3, we'd still have to do this. But I wanted to give you this one because this is a bit more of a. This is actually one where you have to do something twice, and you're gonna see these are the 3 steps we're always gonna do this. So to find all the roots when you have a big power like x to the fourth. Your first step is to graph it. Your second step is to do that synthetic division. It's been a while since we've done that, so I'll walk you through that. And third step is a quadratic formula, and that's to find all the zeros, okay? So I say zeros, roots, they all mean the same thing, okay? So my first step is to graph it, so I'm gonna put that in my y equals screen just like I have it. Hopefully you can see how I type that in. Plus 70x squared minus 70x minus 156, okay? I'm gonna hit graph, all right? Let's see where this thing hits the x-axis at. Ooh, right there and right there. So 2 places where this thing hits the x-axis, right? Hopefully you can count that over. One of them is going to be a negative one. I'm going to go ahead and write that down. And those already, that gives me 2 of my answers, all right? So one of my answers will be, I'm going to go ahead and write it right here. I should write it over here. X equals, well, where did that hit the x-axis right there? It looks like -1, okay. And where did this hit the x-axis all the way on the right? Let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, okay? So there's 2 of my answers. Now, remember what I said in class? Most of the time, whatever your highest power is, I'll tell you what how many answers you probably will have. So my highest power is a 4, so most likely I'm going to have 4 answers. Well, here's 2. Well, how do I figure out the other 2? Well, remember, let's look back at those 3 steps I gave you a minute ago. First, to graph. We already did that, right? Second, do synthetic division. And third, do quadratic formula. So let's go ahead and do the second step, synthetic division. Now, to do it with these, I don't know, let's pick a number. I don't know, let me do -1. That's the number I'm going to put in the box, okay? So let's remind ourselves of synthetic division. You put a number inside the box, and then you put your coefficients beside of that, okay? When I say coefficients, I mean the numbers in front of all these x's here. So the number from x to the fourth is like a 1. Next up, -15, 70. I'm going to kind of hammer through this really fast like, okay? And remember how to do this? I drop down the 1. Drop down the 1 down here, all right? Then I multiply the number in the box by the number down below. So -1 times a +1 is just a -1. And then I add down, I combine down. Think of it like -5 plus a -1 or something like that. You can think of it like that. Well, that's going to be a -16. And then the process starts all over again. Multiply the number in the box by the number right here. So the -1 times a -16 and keep on going. Okay, I'm going to kind of hammer through this, like I said, kind of quickly here. Okay, what's that going to be? I think it's going to be a -156. And that'll be, remember what I said, our remainder should be 0. Is our remainder 0 here? It is indeed, all right? That's your remainder right there, okay? So that's your remainder right here. All right, now, if I rewrote my equation here, I'll just write it off to the side in pencil so you can see what this would be. You don't have to do this part, but I want to show you. It would be 1x to the third, because remember, our highest power is x to the fourth, right? And whenever we do synthetic division, our answer will be 1 step down from there. So x to the third minus 16x squared plus 86x minus 156. Now, if we just use this, I mean, if we graph that, still, we'd have the same problem. We wouldn't see all of our zeros. We wouldn't see everything. Because remember, even though we could only see these 2 on the graph right here, we gotta, well, the other 2 are gonna be imaginary, right? So if you have x to the fourth, you not only do you have to do synthetic division 1 time, but you gotta do it a 2nd time, okay? So I don't even need to write down the equation right here. I just need to go ahead and go into synthetic division a 2nd time, okay? Now we already used that -1 right there. So what's the other number we found? We found a -1 and a 6, right? Those are our 2 roots, are the 2 times that hit the x-axis. One time was -1, we use it right there. Next time it hit was a +6, so let's use that one, okay? You can kind of combine it all together. I'm just gonna step down here. Use those same numbers I got. I don't need the 0 there because it's just a 0. It's like a remainder, right? Doesn't matter to me. All right, same thing again. All right then, let's go through here again. Remember, drop down the 1, multiply the number down there by the number of the box, put it there, and add down. Okay, and keep that process going for me. All right, then 26 times 6. It's a +156. Remember, I should get a 0 as a remainder, and I do. So now let's write out what our equation was. Remember, we started with an x to the 4th up there, and we did synthetic division twice. Remember, when you do synthetic division, it brings everything down, your highest power down, okay, by 1 at a time. So if I do synthetic division twice, it would bring my power down 2 less. So instead of having x to the 4th, it would have x to the 2nd, okay? So that's going to tell me what my first term is, 1x squared minus a 10x plus a 26. Again, don't need the remainder. I'm good. All right, now what kind of equation is this? Well, what's the highest power? The highest power is a 2. So that's a quadratic. So that should tell me, that Q word right there, should tell me, well, I already did 1. I graphed it. Check. I did synthetic division twice. Check, check. And step 3, I need to do the quadratic formula because, again, I have a quadratic right there. And the reason why I have a quadratic is because my highest power is a 2. Let's do quadratic formula with that, all right? So let's go down here. I'm going to have to kind of bend my paper up a little bit, all right? Let's do this thing, all right? So let's label our things A, B, C, okay? All right, let's do this thing. Remember our quadratic formula. If you're not sure, if you need a little bit more practice with this and me being a bit slower with quadratic, by all means, there's a video on my channel that kind of goes through 3 big types of problems, okay? I'll tell you this much, though. This one's going to be an imaginary answer, okay? So let's plug everything in we know. Apologize, I don't have any color coding going on here. But I'm going to go ahead and write it like this. Pause right here if you need to stop and check this out, see what I did. Just plugged in everything in there. Okay, let's keep going. All right, x equals, well, 2 negatives right there make a positive 10 plus or minus square root. And remember what I said? Do what's inside the square root. Okay, let me reiterate something. If you remember that video that I showed you and what I've been saying in class is do what's inside the square root first, okay? So plug just that little thing inside the square root, that negative 10 squared and all that. So I'm going to do that real quick. So let's see, negative 10 squared, I'm going to plug it in exactly as I see it, minus 4 times 1 times a 26 equals negative 4. Okay, I have a negative inside of a square root, so you should automatically be thinking to yourself, what letter am I going to have to pull out, okay? Remember, I just plugged that in, I got negative 4 out. All over 2 times a 1. What's 2 times 1? It's 2. Okay, we'll do a little mini skip here. Let's skip a little step. I have a negative inside of a square root. So what should I do? What letter should I pull out? Should pull out an I, okay? So x equals 10 plus or minus. Now I'm going to have an I somewhere in here. So I'm going to write my I in red. Okay, now how about this 4 right here? Well, tell me, again, like I said, I'm going to do kind of 2 steps in one here. Since I saw the negative inside of the square root, I know I had to have an I in my answer, right? Now I'm going to go ahead and take the square root of 4. What's square root of 4? Well, square root of 4 is a 2, okay? If you're not sure, I just did it right there to prove it to you. Square root of 4 is a 2, okay? So I'm going to have 10 plus or minus a 2i all over what? Well, all over 2. And then your last step, remember, is to reduce down from there, okay? So this would they're all even numbers, so they're divisible by 2, and you can think of it like I'm reducing everything down by 2, right? So I should have 5 plus or minus a 1i, or you can just say I, okay, which is exactly what I'm going to say right here. And that would be some of my answers, okay? Now, I'm not going to say this is all of my answers, because remember, this is just part of it. These are just the imaginary. Well, how many answers do I have here? Well, I have 2 answers here. Let me go back. Remember that 5 plus or minus I, okay? Now remember, these are already 2 of my results here that I got from graphing the thing. So along with those 2, I also have the 2 I found through all this hard work right here. Right here. 5 plus or minus I. 5 plus or minus, I'm going to keep that red color scheme going with my eyes, okay? So how many answers do I have here? Well, I have 1, 2, and remember how I said I technically also have 2 answers here, so it's a total of 4 answers, right? And that kind of lines up with what my theory said, saying that whatever your highest power is tells you how many answers you're probably going to have, okay? So hopefully that helps. If you need to pause any part of the video, please do. Just remember those 3 big steps right there. Graph, synthetic division, sometimes multiple times, and then quadratic formula, okay, to find all the roots, okay? I'm going to go ahead and hammer out the next video for you. All right, thanks.